Food for Thought with Professor David Bittay.
Thank you for tuning in. Here we are once again for another episode of Food for Thought with Professor Ndete. We began a series about 2 weeks ago talking about the influence of media, violence in the media, and how it's influencing our children. And we are learning some very important things about how this violence our children are exposed to is affecting how they behave and how they perceive life. Let's jump back to where we left off this conversation last week. What about desensitization in terms of even the value of human life, because you're watching people being killed on the screen, people being taken through inhumane kind of things. Does that have the capability to desensitize you so that you're not sensitive? You don't have that empathy anymore for human life or for a fellow human being.
I think, remember we talked about suggestibility.
Yeah.
And if it is constantly suggested to you, initially there will be a lot of fear, but as you go along, you are made to feel that this is the norm. It is happening all the time.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. If you can't beat them, you join them. And you don't have to reason and say, I've been trying to do this to the best of my knowledge. I cannot stop. Why should I be different? Let me just be like other person. Why should I bother? I'm just one of the human beings. And I think it's very important for parents to do this, to have this kind of information. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, each parent, father and mother in the house, in the family unit, they have a responsibility to that son of theirs, to that daughter of theirs, regardless of what happens outside there.
Yes.
Is it possible within the homes for the parents to start to be aware of what we are talking about, to a certain extent control what is happening, what they are seeing on television, which they sit with the children. Yeah. All of them, they are watching. Yeah. Is it possible for the parents to know that this can badly affect the children? When you leave children, I get stories. I mean, the parents will tell our son, our children, they like watching television, and they would want to sit late and watch. Yeah. You don't know what they are watching. Yes. So now I'm talking at individual level, because you can control that environment within the homestead. You cannot control outside the environment. Is it possible for parents to be more vigilant about what their children watch? Yeah. Is it possible for the parents to make sure that to the extent possible, they don't put television in the bedrooms of the children, because some of them will say, well, you see, we can afford this, Lord has blessed us.
Keeps him busy.
He keeps you busy and things like that. Yeah. And when they are watching those things, you really don't know what they are watching. Yeah. So I think there's a possibility that we, as parents, as the family unit, you can start telling the children, this is likely to affect you, and all the kind of things that they see on television. And the people who are who upload these things on in the social media or whatever, they are very smart. I mean, what do they do? They say they'll show something which is, we would agree, is normal, is harmless, and before you switch on to the next one, something pops up over which you have no control. Yes, and that's what catches the attention of the children. Yeah. So we need to make it a dialogue. I keep on saying dialogue within the family, that this is not good. Yeah. Yeah, and you keep on telling them. I think there is this saying that if you bring your children in such a way where when they are young, you teach them how to do things.
When they are older.
When they are older.
They will not depart from it.
I am what I am because of my father. Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about music as well, because I remember once watching a documentary about gangs and how they kill each other. This young man was being interviewed. Of course, they had covered his face and changed his voice a bit. But what he said I thought was very interesting. And he said it is very hard for a human being to just walk up to another human being and shoot them. It is very hard. So he said what we do when we are meant to go out on a killing mission, to kill members of another gang, is we sit down and we listen to a particular kind of music that talks about killing each other, that talks about violence, that is full of curse words and vulgar words, and we listen to it over and over and over and over again, and it gets us into a state where we just act without thinking.
That reminds me of a story that I was told here by a family.
Yeah.
And it was a little girl, very sweet little girl, with a very sweet grandmother. Sweet in the sense that they were just good friends.
Yeah.
Now, this girl, in the house, they used to watch these Western films where there's a lot of shooting.
Shooting, Western cowboys.
Western cowboys.
Yes.
So this little girl would get something that looks like a piece of steak and pretend that it was a gun. And she would go to the grandmother and they say, boom, boom, boom. Being shot, like they see. And the guy was very concerned. He said, why aren't you dropping dead? I've been shooting you.
Oh.
Yeah. And this is a real story. I was told by a family. So basically what I'm saying is that when children keep on watching these things repeatedly, they may, as I said, an element of suggestibility, internalization. It is no more.
Yes.
If they are doing this as cowboys and they have been doing this for a long time and they get rewarded for being successful in whatever they do, they become heroes. Yes, they internalize that and they think it's normal. So this little girl, she just said a stick, which she believed was mimic a gun, and when she's saying boom, boom, according to the grandmother should have dropped dead,
like we see in the
like we see on television.
Yes.
Yeah. This film they were watching on cowboys. So the same principle applies. Yes.
No, you say that, and I think I saw something in the news quite some years back of a similar situation, but the only difference is they had a gun in the house.
Yes.
And the man of the house had not locked his gun.
Yes.
So the child went and took a gun.
Yes.
And actually shot his brother.
Yes. Yes.
Because of what they had seen on TV.
Yes. If that little girl had a real gun, would have shot the grandmother. But fortunately, all it could do is a stick, which she imagined was a gun. It's the same principle that applies.
Wow. Professor, talk to us a bit about entertainment, because we live in a generation where entertainment is big. And when I look at entertainment, they usually have those ratings, and they say this program is suitable for people over 16, or it's not suitable for children. But what I realize is many times as parents, we ignore that part. Yeah, if it's saying over 16, our 8-year-olds are watching, our 9-year-olds are watching. Sometimes it even tells us it's content for mature people because of the violence, the language, nudity, and all manner of things. But we still allow our children to watch it. So how should we as parents handle entertainment? And how is it affecting our families?
Well, in the first place, let me ask a question. If it was all that good, if there was nothing sinister about it, if there was nothing hidden about it, why would they warn people?
Good question.
These people, they know what they are doing, and they know that there is something not so good about that. And they know for children the same principle, that they may think that is normal because of suggestibility. And they know all of those things.
Yeah.
So, and even you parents, including myself.
Yes.
Yeah. What kind of entertainment do we get out watching out all these things? Nudity, violence. Yeah. There's something not quite well even with us. If you, as a parent, as an adult like you, if you are going to get satisfaction out of seeing illicit things, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
nudity right there in front of you. What's the difference between you and a dog? We are supposed to have some kind of conscience.
Yeah.
And whatever you feed into your brain, if that is something that entertains you, I think there's something not quite
is wrong.
There's something not quite normal.
Wow.
And if it's not quite normal for an adult, what about those little children? You show them those things. You show them pornography. Yeah. And yet we know that even the so-called Western countries,
Yes.
yeah, pornography is prohibited by law. Yeah, whether on newspapers or in the social media to the extent possible, because I suppose they also listen to their scientists. They use not necessarily psychiatrists, social scientists, anthropologists. They know the effect of those things on the children. But here, I mean, just go to any social media. It's like pornography is already there.
Yeah.
And even if you don't look for it,
it finds you.
It finds you. It just flashes you. You see. Anyway.
What's the idea? Unfortunately, our time is up again. Thank you for being a part of Food for Thought with Professor Ndetei. Give us some feedback. Is this information helpful to you, especially in this age where media is everything? Media is on 24 hours a day. We have so many screens in our homes. What are our children watching? We need to be vigilant. We'll pick up this conversation again next week on another episode of Food for Thought with Professor Ndetei. Have a great week and God bless you.
Food for Thought with Professor David Ndetei.